Welcome back to episode 3 of the Pain Academy podcast. If you've made it this far, I just want to acknowledge you. You're doing something most people don't. You're showing up, you're staying curious, and if you've listened to the first 2 episodes, you've heard a lot already. My story, my wipeout, the broken back, the years of pain and frustration, and all of the dead ends. In episode 2, I laid out the body side of the story, the dysfunction, the compensation, the mechanical chaos. Today, we go deeper into something that I wish someone would have walked me through when I was in the peak of my struggle. Because sometimes the pain isn't about the body anymore. It's about the wiring. This episode is about the part that doctors, experts, or specialists never took the time to tell me. The part that explains why I was getting worse 5 years after my injury, not better. This is about the nervous system and how it can keep pain alive even long after the body is healed. We're going to unpack the brain's role, the science of pain, the real reason chronic pain doesn't make sense, and, more importantly, what to do about it. Let's get into it. There was a moment that I will never forget. I had just left another round of tests, MRIs and checkups, the works. And the doctor looked at me and said, "Your scans are great. You're fine." He meant it as reassurance, but in the moment, I've never felt more dismissed. Fine, I couldn't lift my son up without pain. I couldn't tie my shoes without bracing like I was just about to get hit by a car. My pain was so bad, I couldn't sleep for more than a couple hours at a time. Back pain was my alarm clock. But yeah, the doctor said, "You're fine." That moment pissed me off. But more than that, it cracked something open, because as much as it felt invalidating, it was also weirdly true. My fracture healed, my herniations healed. My tissue was no longer damaged, so why was I getting worse? That question haunted me, and eventually that question changed everything. Let's clear something up right away. Pain is always real. But that doesn't mean it's always accurate. Now, what do I mean by that? Pain is your body's alarm system. It's how your brain says, hey, something might be wrong here. And when everything's working correctly, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. So you roll your ankle, it swells up, and it hurts to walk on. That is a healthy response. Your brain is saying, let's not do that again, or let's be careful. In a normal, healthy nervous system, once that rolled ankle heals, you're back to your normal, usual self. In a dysregulated nervous system, the nervous system keeps the alarm on long after the injury. It's an attempt to prevent you from ever getting injured again. That's not damage anymore. That's a miscommunication. Let me give you an analogy to make that real. Imagine a smoke detector that goes off every time you make toast. The alarm's not broken. A broken alarm doesn't go off. The alarm's going off excessively because it's just overly sensitive. It's reacting to possible danger as if it's actual danger. That is what happens in chronic pain. The injury or threat may be long gone, but your nervous system's still running on high alert. It's not imaginary, it's learned. To be clear, your nervous system isn't broken, it's hypersensitive. If you pull one thing from this episode, please have it be that. Now, let's slow down and really understand what's going on here in the brain. In a healthy brain, when you get hurt, there's a part of your brain that lights up. It says, hey, something's wrong, let's protect it. That's a normal response. The injury heals, the signal fades, and you and your brain move on. But in some people, that's not what happens. In a series of studies, Dr. Vinny, one of the leading pain neuroscientists in the world, and his team looked at people who just hurt their backs. And they tracked them for a year to see what happened. And here's what's wild. These researchers weren't looking at the back injury at all. They were looking at the brain, specifically how certain areas were talking to each other before chronic pain even developed. And what they found blew people's minds. In the people who went on to heal normally, pain activated the parts of the brain responsible for sensing and responding to physical damage, kind of like a check engine light. It came on, it did its job to alert and to protect, and then it turned off. But in the people who developed chronic pain, something entirely different happened. Two parts of the brain, the medial prefrontal cortex, which handles meaning, decision-making, storytelling, emotional learning, and self-reflection, and the nucleus accumbens, which handles threat and reward, started talking to each other a lot more. And they kept talking, even when the injury healed. And here's the kicker. That overcommunication between just those two regions of the brain, before pain became chronic, could predict with 85% accuracy who would still be in pain a year later. Said differently, these researchers didn't even need to look at the back, not the injury, not the MRI. They could just look at your brain scan, specifically how these two areas of the brain were talking, and almost perfectly predict who would stay in pain. Because the pain signals were not coming from the body anymore. It was coming from the way that the brain had learned to expect it. To be even more clear, that's not a guess, that's brain imaging. Not looking at the back, not looking at the discs, just looking at the wiring. So what does this actually mean? It means the brain wasn't just reacting to pain anymore. It was holding on to it, rehearsing it, tying emotion, fear, identity, reward, and memory. And none of that is your fault. That is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to learn and adapt. And sometimes what it learns is pain. Think about that. You get injured, it hurts. Your brain immediately goes, uh-oh, don't do that again. But even after your body heals, the brain is still capable of saying, ow, danger. And every time you reinforce that loop, tensing up, bracing, avoiding, you're teaching your brain that movement equals threat. That's why, for so many people, the pain gets worse the more careful they are, because they are accidentally rehearsing fear. Not because they're weak, not because they're broken, but because the brain's just doing what it was taught. It's like your brain wrote a story about pain and it kept rereading it, even long after the plot no longer made sense. I know this might sound like a stretch. You might even be in denial, like I was when hearing that. You might be thinking, but Vin, I can point to exactly where it's hurt. I've got this diagnosis. I've got this MRI. I've got the accident, the surgery, the scar. I get that. I did too. I had a fracture. I had herniated discs. I had nerve pain. I could point to it. All of it. I had proof. I had doctors explaining it. I had the scans to back it up. So when someone first said, hey, this might be your nervous system, my immediate reaction was, I thought, you don't get it. I've got an injury. I've got a reason. Remember, pain gets processed in storytelling and meaning when it becomes chronic. I started to defend my pain. There was a study that showed asymptomatic people, so people without pain, nearly 30+% of them have herniated discs and bulging discs, and no pain at all. And conversely, plenty of people have no visible injury, yet a lot of pain. So the question is not, did something happen? The question is my nervous system still protecting me, even though the danger has passed? That is what we're going to check in on right now. No pressure, no diagnosis, no blame, just 10 honest questions to see if your system might still be on high alert. So ask yourself, question number 1, did your pain start during a stressful life event? Though it might have began with an injury, did it stick around long after it should have healed? For example, a herniated disc should take anywhere between 6 to 9 months to heal. Are you long outside that healing window, yet still hurt? Broken bones can take a few weeks to a few months to heal. Are you long outside that healing window and still hurt? And to clarify, when I say stressful event, I don't mean probably your normal stressors that you're thinking about, like work and finances or relationships. Good things can be stressful too, like getting married, even winning the lottery. All great things, but they aren't without stress. So be very expansive when you answer, did you also have a stressful event while pain started to show up? Question number 2, does your pain come and go? Like some days are okay, and then suddenly it's back out of nowhere. For example, some days you can walk, others you can't. Some days you can sit in the car, others you can't. Question number 3, do certain environments, people, or even thoughts make your pain worse? Question 4, have you noticed your pain feels better when you're on vacation or worse when life feels overwhelming? Number 5, do certain environments, places, or even people seem to change your symptoms without you really even doing anything different? Number 6, does the weather shift it? A stressful conversation, a packed schedule, things outside of your body. Number 7, do your symptoms move around from your back to your neck to your hip, and they don't always match what the scans are saying? Number 8, do your symptoms ease up when you're doing something you love? Laughing, creating, playing, being fully present? Number 9, do you have symptoms in different parts of your body, like jaw tension, stomach issues, fatigue, or joint pain that don't really seem connected, but they kind of all tend to flare up together? Number 10, does your pain show up at certain times of the day or in specific environments, even if you're not doing anything physically different? If you said yes to any of those, we have to consider the reality is that structural issues tend not to behave like that. If you break a leg, that leg is broken. And that break doesn't sometimes hurt, sometimes not, doesn't kind of hurt in the morning, but feels good at night. It doesn't allow you to walk some days and other days you are bedridden. Structural issues are very consistent. Nervous system dysregulation issues, like neuroplastic pain, what we're talking about, behaves inconsistently like that. Neuroplastic pain behaves like that. It fluctuates because it's the brain producing the signal, not the structural or body. Now, this doesn't mean your pain is all in your head or it's made up. It means your nervous system might be stuck in a learned loop. That's what happened to me. And it happens to millions of people because no one ever taught us that pain can be conditioned. But here's the good news. If your brain can learn pain, it can also unlearn it. You're not broken. You're just wired for protection, and we can work with that. For those of you still with me, let's break down how this gets wired and how we can start retraining your system today. Let's first talk about how pain works, like how it really works. And once I understood this, everything then started to shift because I had a better foundation. So that's where we're going to start. Not just in my body did things start to shift, but more in how I started to treat my body in pain. And it's the same shift that has helped over 12,000 people that we've worked with at Pain Academy. So to begin, your body has specialized nerves called nociceptors that act like danger detectors. They pick up on things like heat, pressure, or inflammation, and they send a message up to your spinal cord, which then reaches your brain. Your brain gets the message and says, yep, that's pain, let's protect. It's kind of like a check engine light, a clear, helpful warning to pay attention and slow down, make a change, or to allow something to heal. But like any system, it can glitch. With chronic pain, something changes in that system. The brain doesn't need input from the body anymore. It's learned the pattern of pain. Therefore, it can now generate pain on its own. Let me say that again. Your brain can keep the pain going even when the injury has healed, even when the danger is long gone. Imagine a motion sensor floodlight, those ones that you put outside your house. When it's working right, it flips on when someone walks by. Real threat, real response. But what happens when that sensor breaks or becomes faulty? Now that sensor turns on when the wind blows, when a leaf falls, when nothing is even there. And maybe the light can no longer shut off. It's generating its own stimulus to turn on. That's kind of like what happens in chronic pain. Your nervous system becomes so sensitive, so protective, so highly overtrained, it starts sending warning signals without any real threat. And those warnings feel like pain. Not because something is wrong with the tissue, but because your brain is trying to keep you safe, even if it's safe already. That's the glitch. That's what turns normal protective pain into something chronic. Now, there's a term for this, central sensitization. It means that your brain and spinal cord have become more sensitive to not just pain signals, any signals. Pressure, touch, hot, cold, stretch, etc. And because of this hypersensitivity, even when there's no injury, the brain can still shout danger. This isn't a theory. It's been shown time and time again in brain imaging studies. But having this conversation is very challenging because chronic pain feels so personal, and it takes time to really unpack what I'm talking about. Time that most experts don't have to sit with you one-on-one and explain. So you're kind of just placed in this, I can't help you, it's all in your head bucket. Just talking about pain being a produced response by the brain and not coming from an active injury feels immediately like you're being gaslit, or like the pain you feel is being made up, which then minimizes it. And that sucks. If this conversation that we're having isn't skillfully had, you will respond exactly like I did, which is wanting to flip the person off that told you pain was all in your head. Let me be clear again. If you feel pain, it's real, but it might not be accurate. It might be learned. And the challenge is learned pain feels just like an injury. Let me drive this idea home of how pain can be learned with a real world example. Let's say you get hurt, all of a sudden bending forward, so like picking up an object off the floor, tying your shoes, putting on socks or pants, it hurts. Your brain logs that information. Bending equals danger. And that's your experience for days, weeks, months, or maybe if you're anything like me, years. Even thinking about bending, that split second right before you actually do it, your brain preemptively sounds the alarm. You tense up, predicting pain, and as you do it, boom, it hurts. Not because you're weak or broken, not because it's still damaged, but because your system successfully learned bending equals danger. This hurts, avoid it. Pain is a learned skill. And like any skill, the more your brain practices it, the faster it shows up. It builds a shortcut straight to the pain. Neurons that fire together wire together. And every time it fires, that path gets stronger. That, my friends, is neuroplasticity. Your brain's ability to learn and reinforce patterns. And this is what helps us learn great skills. But when your brain starts to learn pain, and pain is one of those patterns, you can now start to understand why pills, scans, adjustments, treatment protocols are not making a real difference, because the brain isn't just reacting, it's replaying. And again, if pain can be learned, it can be unlearned. Look, I'm not here to just talk about the problem and leave you hanging. Understanding chronic pain is the first powerful step to reclaiming your life. But doing something about it is what actually creates a change. In a moment, I'm going to give you a few tools, things that you can start practicing today. They've helped me, and they've helped thousands of people take that first steps in retraining their nervous system and begin to take back control of their bodies. But here's the truth. If you really want to shift this physically and mentally, your best next step is to get inside of my program. That's where I can guide you through this process daily with structure, support, and a proven system that targets both the movement patterns and the nervous system wiring that's keeping pain alive. Now, that said, if you're not ready for that yet, or you just need somewhere to start, I'm going to point you in a direction right now. So let's talk about 3 tools you can begin using today to start calming your system and unlearning and at least disrupting the pain loop. These tools are simple, and simple doesn't mean ineffective. It means your nervous system might actually listen. These tools work because they speak the language your nervous system actually understands. Now, each one of these tools I'm going to share with you could be a 6-hour-long conversation, and we'd just be scratching the surface. So I'm going to keep this as light as I can for now. I cover all of this with more depth inside my program, and I'm sure I'll be going deeper in this podcast with these techniques as well, because this information deserves to be out there more. Okay, tool number 1, somatic tracking. Somatic tracking is a way to observe pain or what you feel without trying to fix it. Sounds counterintuitive, right? All we want to do is fix it. We want to change it, numb it, suppress it, fight it, avoid it. We resist pain at all costs. But here's why learning how to observe pain without trying to fix it works. When you watch pain and explore it with curiosity, not fear, you begin to teach your brain this sensation is safe. I can feel this without spiraling. It's not avoidance. It's not fighting. It's presence. It's an allowance. You're helping your brain update what pain means. Think of it like watching a thunderstorm through a window. You're not in danger. You're just looking at the thunderstorm. You're observing it. And you can do this anywhere, anytime. Just start off with 30 seconds, very light and simple. Name what you feel, breathe, soften, and stay with it. Even 30 seconds to a minute of just looking and observing a sensation can start to rewire that loop. And if you need some guidance on exactly how to do that, think about, I know it sounds a little weird, but does this symptom, does this sensation, does it have a size? Is it big or is it small? Does it have a shape to it? Does it have a color? Does it have a texture? Just these simple things, and maybe the answer is no. Or maybe you might be surprised that it actually does, and we're just practicing observing it. A good visual for this is if you're snorkeling, you're just floating on top of the water, looking down at the fish below. You aren't seeing a fish, which would be the symptom, and holding your breath and chasing the fish around, kicking up the sand and causing panic, destroying the environment. You're just floating and observing them. And that's your job today for 30 seconds with pain, is to just observe it, unmoved, without bringing anything to it or doing anything with it. Practice being neutral. And recognize when you're observing it, are you trying to tie emotion to it? Do you bring a story into it? Identity? Do you bring meaning? Do you bring future tripping into it? Remember what I said earlier about how chronic pain is processed in different regions of the brain than acute pain. That's the part of your brain ramping up, the one that's telling story, tying identity, emotions, fear, panic, worry, comparison. That's you doing the chronic pain thing and keeping it alive. And today, we're just going to say, as we're observing it, oh, there goes a story I'm attaching to it. Okay. Oh, and there's an emotion. And, oh, wow, I'm doing all these things with it, except just allowing it and observing it. I could go on. Let's move on. Tool number 2, gradual exposure. Your brain doesn't need you to prove that you're tough. It needs you to prove that you're safe. Gradual exposure is about gently reintroducing feared or painful movements, gently, 1 rep at a time. Pick something small. Maybe even sitting hurts. Maybe lifting a sock off the ground hurts. Turning your head hurts. Whatever it is. The goal isn't to thrust yourself into extreme pain and learn how to work with it there. The goal is to create a little bit of discomfort and then see if we can learn how to take a deep breath in there. But with gradual exposure, we are reassigning meaning in the brain. We are feeling, doing a quick safety reappraisal of, hey, I know this hurts, but does it have to? Just questioning and being very real with it. I'm safe right now. I have a roof over my head. I have food. I have the time to even do this. I'm okay. Hey, body, you can hurt if you want or need to, but you don't have to. Nothing I'm doing in this moment is wrong. There is no threat here. There's no lion chasing me. I am safe. And every rep you do can become a vote of safety instead of probably what you're doing before, which is bringing fear and panic. You are reassigning safety to messages that have once or for a long time been alarm bells. This over time, this gives you something healthier to do other than bracing, flinching, or just tensing up, resisting, and fighting it. Okay, let's move on. Tool number 3, cognitive soothing. This is not about lying to yourself. It's about offering your brain a better language. When pain shows up, try telling yourself, this pain is a learned signal, not a signal of harm. Or, my brain is trying to protect me, but I'm safe right now. Or, this sensation is allowed to be here. I'm going to make room for all the sensations I feel. Or if that's too hard for you to work with that signal, then it's, oh wow, okay, there's this sensation here. And what else can I feel? Take a deep breath. Well, I can feel the air coming in and out of the tip of my nose. That feels good. What about the temperature of the room? Is there sun on you? Does it feel cool? Is there a breeze? What's something else that feels good? Maybe your lips have never hurt you. Maybe your cheek or your ears or the left shoulder, whatever it is. There's also something going on in your body that feels good. Because Focusing on other things isn't about ignoring or pretending the pain away. It's about showing your brain there's more to your story than just what doesn't feel good. These aren't mantras. They're nervous system scripts, calm, grounded statements that help your brain just dial things down. You can use them during movement, during pain spikes, even during your somatic tracking exercise that I gave you as tool number 1. Because your nervous system isn't just listening to your body, it's listening to your thoughts too. Now, let's be practical. What happens if you try this stuff and the pain flares up? What if it gets worse before it gets better? That used to mess with my head a lot. So let's talk about that because it's normal and it has a name because it's so common. It's called an extinction burst. Because you're going to try this stuff. And as much as I wish healing was filled with sunshine and rainbows for you, I also, as somebody who's going to guide and coach you, I want to prepare you for something that happens to a lot of people when they start working on these problems. You probably initially finally feel relief and hope. You try a new movement, you use somatic tracking, maybe you join my program and you feel a huge change in the first week or first couple months. And then, out of nowhere, boom, the pain flares. Sometimes worse than before. And you immediately unravel and you start thinking, did I mess something up? Was this all just a placebo? Am I going backwards? Not at all. That is called an extinction burst. It's what happens when your nervous system is being asked to let go of a pattern it's held on to for years. You've seen this 100 times. Imagine a toddler who always gets candy when they scream at the grocery store. And one day, you say no, or a parent says no. What happens? That child doesn't just give up and say, oh, thank you. You are the best parent ever for not giving me candy. I love you so much and let me give you a snuggle. Hell no. What do? They scream louder because that scream used to work and now it doesn't. So they test it. Why would pain be any different? Pain can do the same thing. When you stop responding to it with fear, bracing, or avoidance and being hypersensitive and overprotective, it throws a fit. That spike, that flare, that's not a setback. That's a test. Your brain saying, are you sure you want to get better? Are you sure you're safe? And your job in that moment is to stay calm, breathe, because we expected this, use your tools, reassure your system, because what comes after a flare is often the first real step towards freedom if we do it right. Now, let's wrap this up with a reminder of what you've learned and what's waiting for you when you apply it. You've just learned a different way to understand your pain, one that doesn't rely on fear or shame or the same old story that says, if I still hurt, something must be wrong. No, you're not broken. You're not weak. And you're not imagining it. You're wired for protection. And your body's doing its best. That's it. Your brain did its job too well. And now we get to teach it that the threat has passed. Not with force, not with bullying, not with willpower, but with clarity, safety, and trust. Built one movement, one exercise, one somatic tracking tool at a time. So if you're not quite ready to join the program yet, here's what I want you to do and how I want you to start today. This is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about sending one new signal to your nervous system today. Pick one of these and actually do it. Somatic tracking. Set a timer for 30 seconds. Notice what you feel. Don't try to fix it. Just stay with it. Breathe, observe, Stay curious. Option 2, movement exposure. Choose one small movement your brain's been bracing against. Do it gently, take a deep breath, and do it slowly. And when you do it, tell your system, we're okay here. Homework option number 3, cognitive soothing. Pick a phrase that feels true and calming to say during a flare. Something like, this is a learned response. I can handle this. I'm safe right now. That's it. That's your homework. One tool, one moment, one rep of safety. That's how rewiring starts. Because you don't have to wait until everything's perfect to start changing. You just need one safe step. And I will be with you through every one of them. And even if that feels like too much right now, I get it. That's why I built this program. It's filled with gentle, safe, and accessible exercises designed specifically for people exactly where you're at. No pressure, no intensity, just real ways to meet your body exactly where it's at and help it feel safe again. If that sounds like what you've been looking for, I'd love to have you in there. Coming up next in episode 4, I'm going to show you how I took everything I learned from the physical and emotional side and turned it into a movement system that rewires both. We're talking movement that retrains your muscles and calms your brain. Not just workouts, healing rituals your body actually wants to do. This is where things really start to shift. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you in the next episode.